Okie dokie, thanks. Hello, welcome to another episode of Mouth Dancing with your host Young. This is episode 87. Can you believe it? 87 episodes of this illustrious podcast, which you've all been a part of up until now, so give yourselves a round of applause. Wouldn't be possible without you. Or me. I mean, without me it wouldn't exist, so it wouldn't be possible at all. It wouldn't even be possible for you to listen to it. And it wouldn't be possible for me to have it to you to listen to. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's like a whole world of possibilities wouldn't exist without it. Thankfully, it does though. So, and Thanksgiving's coming up, so it's something to be thankful for. Something I really wanted to talk about that's been on my mind. Something that's just crazy. It's wild. It's insane, maybe. Some people might say it's ableist to call something crazy or insane, but I don't think so. Because I'm crazy, and I like to call things crazy when they seem crazy, okay? You guys know Tolkien? The guy who wrote the Lord of the Rings series? There's a bunch of movies that were made about it. Famous movies with Orlando Bloom and that Elijah kid who was a hobbit. Well, did you know that in that series, the orcs, you know, the bad guys with like the really smashed faces and the weird looking skin, the evil guys who are all dark and gray and just look scary? Did you know that Tolkien based those characters on Asian people? So the whole series of his fantasy books, it's basically an allegory for Western imperialism against Asian people. It's all about defeating the evil, dark hordes of Asia, you know. And there's a quote from him that he wrote in a letter to his friend, and it says exactly that. The orcs are basically Mongol people. And, you know, they're like sort of the opposite of European white people. And they need to be destroyed because they're evil. And they're just like this sort of like faceless, brainless horde of like aliens or I don't know what, insects or something, you know. You know the racist stuff people say about Asians online. That we're all just like bugs or whatever, you know. And that's the same exact thing happening in Lord of the Rings. Did you know that? I'm not sure if you did, but the whole thing is just, it's basically code for Western colonization and imperialism around the world. So, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, that's what you're supporting. And if you're an Asian fan of Lord of the Rings, you're a fucking asshat. And you need to take that hat off your ass and just show your whole ass, because that's what you are, as a fucking ass clown. You know, just like in that movie Office Space, when he calls his coworker an ass clown. That's what you are. You're a fucking clown and a bozo. And you need to get your head out of your fucking ass. Stop sniffing your own farts and eating your own shit for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's how I feel about Lord of the Rings now. I always suspected that. It always seemed like a lot of fantasy stories seem like that, actually. Not just Lord of the Rings. Even, you know, Game of Thrones. Just all of them are basically allegories for Western imperialism. And if you disagree with me, I don't give a fuck. Okay? I don't care. Because you're wrong. Tolkien says it in a freaking quote. A direct quote describing exactly what the orcs are. So if you still disagree, then you're just lying to yourself. Because you don't want it to be true. Because you love this fantasy story And subconsciously or even, unconsciously or whatever, deep down, you agree with it. You agree that Asians are like the orcs and they need to be destroyed and genocided because they're a threat to white European humanity. So go fuck yourself. That's all. Second, I wanted to talk about gluten-free and vegan food products. There are a lot on the shelves these days, right? Is there a lot of people who are vegan, for one, and people who can't eat gluten because it irritates their digestive system or whatever, gives them acne. I don't know how it works exactly, but it's not good for their bodies. So they say. And I was thinking one of probably the most vegan and gluten-free products out there is bottled water. Very easy on the digestion. I'm pretty sure there are no animal products in it. Like the bottles are usually made of plastic, which is made of like petroleum products. And the water itself, it might have some like really small microorganisms in it that are considered animals. But even vegans can't avoid that level of animal products, right? So I think every bottled water maker could put that on the label for their water. And that would be a major selling point. So why don't they do that? I want to see like every water bottle having that on their label because they can make so much more money that way, marketing to, people who can't eat gluten and people who are vegan. And you can even live off just water, I think. You might need to get some other nutrients. Maybe you could just take a vitamin or something. But, don't take that to heart because I'm not a doctor. I don't know for sure. But I'm sure you need, I don't know, something else in addition to water, but water is really important. So if you're vegan or you don't eat gluten, bottled water is your friend. And should be one of the top things on your grocery list when you go grocery shopping. Lastly, let's talk about invention. You know how people invent things and then they file patents for it and then they get all the money for it and all the credit for it and they get listed as the inventor of a certain product or a method or a device or some sort of whatever, something invented, right? You can patent all kinds of things, even like names of products. But I want to know who invented the idea of inventing things. Was it some like ancient philosopher or something? Who was that person? Can even one person be credited with that whole idea? Maybe it was a group of people who came up with it. Maybe it was invented independently in multiple places at the same time by either separate individuals or groups of individuals. But whatever the case may be, whoever invented the idea of invention doesn't get any credit for it. And they should get some sort of like a lifetime achievement award for that because if they hadn't invented the idea of inventions, then we wouldn't have inventions. And inventions are really important for day-to-day life. Like everything I'm using right now is an invention from somebody. And everything you're using to listen to this is an invention from somebody or a group of somebodies, same with the things that I'm using, possibly a group of somebodies and not just a somebody. So we gotta be thankful for that. And we gotta track this person down somehow through the history books. Because I haven't heard of this person. Maybe you have, and I'm not sure where to get that information. It seems kind of obscure. Like you gotta do a deep net Google search for it, right? Or search on DuckDuckGo or Bing or some other search engine, which I'm not familiar with maybe. But I don't know where to get the information, basically, is what I'm saying. And if I knew who this person was, or if you do, I'd really like to tip my hat to them. Because they deserve it. And if they're already dead, which most likely they are because Inventions have been around for a really long time, longer than, one person's lifetime. I'm guessing like hundreds of years. So this person's probably already dead, and they didn't even get recognized for their contribution to humanity. So let's find this person, let's track them down, and let's give them what they deserve, posthumously. We can't do it, because they're not living anymore. We can't give the person themselves the thing, but posthumously we could recognize them and give them all the applause and the plaudits and the awards and the recognition and the credit that they deserve. And I'd like to see that happen within my lifetime, because it's a sad story. So let's give it a good old-fashioned American-style movie ending, where all the characters live happily ever after. And on that note, I'd like to end this episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.